Okay, I pressed
Right.
record. We still may be joined by some people because it's only just dead on 7. But I'm going to start anyway because I'm so conscious that we're incredibly privileged and lucky to have Dicken here. So I want to make the most of all the time. So welcome everybody. Thank you for coming. As most of you know, I think, have been on these calls before, to keep ambient background noise to a minimum, please, can you now mute your audio unless you're speaking? And so we have 1 hour, and my thought was that, Dicken, you could speak for maybe 30 minutes, 35 minutes, whatever you feel like. And Dicken's going to be speaking on the theme of peace. Living from peace and sharing peace with others. And after that, we're going to invite questions from you guys. If you have a question, and I'll remind you of this again afterwards, probably best to type it in the chat box, or if it's a long question, you can just type, I have a question. And then what I'll do is I'll call on you, and you can have a conversation with Dicken, and at that stage, obviously, unmute yourself. So I can't promise everybody will get a chance to ask their questions, but Dicken, I know you'll get to as many as you can. So many of you already know Dicken and love Dicken, as I do, but for those who don't, here's a quick potted history. Dicken Bettinger started as a teacher, and then he went on to qualify as a clinical psychologist back in 1983 and practiced that for 31 years. And then he met a man called Sydney Banks and was able to learn from Sid directly for 23 years. And I know was very grateful to have found the universal principles that he could teach anybody. Dicken co-founded and was the director of one of the first centers in the US to teach the 3 principles. He's
webinar is tomorrow, so I can watch the one I wanted to watch.
Okay, can everybody mute themselves, please? That would be great. He is a member of the a faculty member of the 3P global community, and joined Pransky and Associates in 1996. Created and taught leadership and staff development programs in a wide variety of organizations. He also now mentors and teaches individuals, couples, families, and organizations from all around the world, as well as working in public service with refugees and the like. He's been married to Koisi for 44 years and loves teaching people about what it takes to create healthy, thriving relationships. He spends a lot of time with his kids and his grandkids and enjoys nature and traveling. And together with Natasha, who's also on the call, Dicken has written a book called Coming Home, and I couldn't recommend it more highly. So a really accomplished guy, but for me, much more important than the official resume is this. Whenever I meet Dicken, I'm struck by 3 things. Number 1, his extraordinary relationships and the way he seems to touch everybody he meets. Secondly, I love the way that he combines a deep and profound understanding of the principles whilst from a place of joy and playfulness. He's got a real twinkle in his eyes, as you can see. And thirdly, the feeling that I just always fall into when I listen to Dicken. So I'm really grateful and excited to have you here, Dicken. And just one more reminder, can you mute yourself? Otherwise we hear, all of us, a lot of background noise. And Dicken, over to you about peace and sharing peace.
Okay. And I've actually now been married 48 years. So 2 years have gone by in a flash here. So, yeah. And my wife Koisi, if any of you have met her, is my biggest teacher of peace. So, well, it's Kim and I were talking about what would be good to have the theme be for this particular talk. And given that it's the beginning of holiday time for many people, we thought we'd talk about peace. It's not a subject for me, it's an experience. And I think it's what everybody in the world is looking for. In our book, Natasha and I called peace home. It's that place inside all of us that everyone has experienced at different times. And it's what everybody, I think it's what everybody is looking for, is the experience of that deep peace, presence, aliveness, the gateway to love and wisdom is how I like to think about peace. And the experience of peace is what helps all of us to have better relationships, to get more out of life, to enjoy life more. I know when my mind is at peace, I can't help but to see beauty. And it's very interesting. I can't be thinking hard about anything and experience peace. Recently, I went
So we seem to have lost Dicken momentarily. I'm sure he'll be back. So Jim says, a moment to step into peace. And Libby says, I'm already feeling it, and he's only just started. Absolutely. So hang in there, guys. And maybe if you're not already doing this, you could be reflecting on how much peace you feel in your life right now. So Natasha, I'm gonna ask you to help us out here until Dicken joins us again. What have you seen about peace?
Well, I like what Dicken said, that it's, the last thing he said was that we can't be thinking about something and feel peace, because it's beyond our thinking. And beyond our thinking is sort of a weird thing to say, but as soon as you touch that space, it becomes more and more present in your life. I've noticed that it's not something that I can want. I can't say that I want peace right now. It's not a will, because as soon as I will it, I'm in my thinking, I'm in a concept. So I've noticed that it's something that happens quite naturally when I fall out of my thinking, and it happens in times where I'm not really doing anything. I can certainly rest and get a sense of this space, but the deep feeling of it comes when it can come just looking at a beautiful tree. I just love this time of the year, or the autumn. It's almost gone now, but the leaves and the sun that hits the leaves in the different colors, and just that image of the sun and the leaves colors can sort of blow me out of my thinking, and I'm in a short space of time, I'm just gone. I'm in this peace. I'm home, which is just beautiful. So that's something that I think, and I think once you've touched that space, and I'm sure Dicken will come back to that, is that you kind of want everybody to have that experience. Out of having tried it for yourself, there comes a wanting for other people to experience the same place or space.
Yeah.
How about you, Kim?
Yeah, I think for me, it is very much almost another word for home. Peace of mind, and it's like so many things in life. It's what's there when I don't have much on my mind. So, as you said, Natasha, it's not about trying to do something to feel peaceful. That's kind of the completely 180 degrees the wrong direction. But it's what seems to be there naturally, all by itself, when there's not a lot of thinking going on. Yeah.
And I love those moments where it happens naturally, where I fall out of my thinking and just kind of by surprise. There's some other sensations, or not, it's not really sensations, but something interesting happens, which is that there's a sense of the I disappearing. There's not the consciousness of a me. There's consciousness, which is all there is, but there is kind of not a me in it. It's like the ego is lost for those moments. And as that's lost, or at least not present, just then, it's a very beautiful feeling. And with that arises this sense of joy and compassion and love. And then something happens and I'm back to I, and wanting and desiring and being frustrated or whatever.
And judging.
And judging, oh, for sure. For sure. But I've noticed over the past few years that the more often that I mean, just knowing that space exists is definitely helpful. And also, it's the more I become familiar with this space, the more I seem to be there. I mean, more of the time.
Yeah. So, Natasha, would you do me a favor? And because you've got Dicken on speed dial, I'm sure.
Yes, I'll call him right away.
And just see. And in the meantime, is there anybody else that wants to just share your experience of peace or lack thereof whilst we're waiting? And if you do have something to say, just unmute yourself and go for it.
got something.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's coming back to what Natasha was saying about the I disappears. And I think that's been the biggest thing that I've felt recently. It's like it's almost been mistaken identity. I've been identifying the I as the ego for a long time and realizing that's not true. The truth is, it's much bigger than that. And when you fall back into that sense of broader awareness, where the peace is, which is the peace, that's actually what we really are. So it's like, it's almost like who am I identifying as me? And it's like the personal identity thing is actually not the truth. So the more I realize that and fall back, it's like life is simpler, more effortless, and things just happen rather than the person trying to make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah.
Very peaceful.
Fabulous. Fabulous. Thank you.
I've just called Dicken on FaceTime, and I've also left messages with him. There's no response at all. The internet might be gone, maybe, because he usually responds on something.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I'm back.
Yay! Thank you, Dicken.
I'm pretty sure it was at my end. I think our internet went off for some reason.
Okay. Oh, well, so glad you're back. So
Yeah, I hope all of you were experiencing deep peace of mind while you were waiting.
yeah, we were. Yeah, we were. And we were just chatting about what peace feels like for us, and so it was great. So you were just about to tell a story. You probably don't remember now.
Yeah. No, I do. I spent the weekend with my 1-year-old grandson, and he's been one of my greatest teachers because he helped me see directly what peace of mind looks like for all of us. And it didn't mean he doesn't have feelings and experiences. He has all different kinds of feelings. So there's a peace that we can have that includes all experience. How about that? That's not how I've usually thought of peace. I thought, well, I can't have peace of mind right now because I'm anxious or I'm sad or I'm upset. Right? And what I've been learning very deeply this year is that there's a difference between all of us when we're in our conceptual mind, when we have ideas, when we're thinking about things, what Sid Banks would call our personal mind. And different from that is when we fall out of our conceptual mind and we're fully in the present moment, but we're not in any concepts or ideas. And what I've been learning is that when anyone takes one little step beyond their personal mind, when they fall into what Sid Banks would call pure consciousness, they will immediately experience peace. Immediately, anyone. No matter what state of mind you're in, you could be in the worst state of mind in the world, fall out of your conceptual mind, you're at peace. Why is that? Because if you fall out of your conceptual mind, there are no judgments that you're paying attention to or listening to. So take away judgments. There are no shoulds. There are no thoughts. I should feel better. I should feel different. I shouldn't feel this way. People shouldn't be doing what they're doing. I should be doing something different. Take all that away. Now we've taken away judgments. We've taken away shoulds, right? Now take away any thought that bums you out, right? When you think about it. Take that away. Take away memory. That's what we call the now. The now is any moment that we experience life free of the contamination of our personal thinking. And it's really ordinary, but like Sid Banks said, I've been telling people that for years and years and years. Everybody gets all excited and then nobody does that. Nobody falls out of their conceptual mind. On some level, we just keep thinking about stuff all the time. And I'm as prone to that as anybody else I know. But I do know that the more deeply I understand that it's that simple, that the instant I fall awake into the now, no matter what I'm experiencing, there are no shoulds, there are no judgments. The Dalai Lama says love is just the absence of judgments. We're a thought away from peace of mind in every moment. We're a thought away from what Natasha and I were calling home. If you're able to take one little step beyond your personal thinking. And I tell you what, in my experience, and I'd love to talk about this with people and see if this is true for you too. The instant I fall out of my conceptual mind, I can see beauty. So this weekend, I went with my grandson to look for a Christmas tree. And we drove way, way up into the mountains. And it was snowing really hard. There was a good almost 2 feet of snow. It was magical. It was just beautiful. When we fell out of our personal thinking, it was a wonderland. The instant we started thinking about things, all of that sort of disappears. Personal thinking doesn't allow you to see and hear and feel and taste what actually is happening in that moment because you're involved in whatever story you're caught up in or thinking about. So for me, the holiday season primarily is about exploring this dimension that's a thought away. Why is that? Because that's where I feel enormous peace, where I sense and see beauty, where I feel connected to life. And again, I want to say, at any moment that we fall beyond our conceptual mind, no matter what mood you're in, no matter what feeling you're in, you'll begin to experience presence, aliveness. You're fully in the now, which is the only place anybody can find peace. It's the only place anybody can find happiness. It's the only place anybody can find love. There's plenty of times during the day when people feel happy and peaceful and loving, and they haven't realized that it's not because of the situation they're in or their friends they're with. It's purely because they're getting some distance from their person. Because you can be your best friend in the world, and if you're caught up in your personal thinking, you won't experience connection with them at that moment. And that's what everybody is looking for. So in terms of the principles, those of you who have been studying the principles, the reason why we wake up to thought is we begin to see that when we're caught up in our own personal thinking, that's what unhappiness is. That's what insecurity is. That's what weighs on human beings. That's when human beings feel like there's a problem or an issue in life. And we wake up to the fact of thought. And we go, oh my God, I'm thinking up a storm. Oh my God, I'm thinking about this and it's creating this feeling. Whoa, I'm thinking up this experience. And if we really see thought, if we really see that 100% of what we're experiencing is created from thought, what happens is it throws us into the now. we drop whatever thinking we were doing and we come back to the room. We come back to what's in front of us. We come back to, for me, the ocean, the tree, the birds, my hand moving, my voice, my thinking, whatever I'm feeling, all of that is in front of me. Wide open, like babies, like newborns. No judgment about any of it, just experiencing all of it. When we experience all of it, there's peace. When we're not at peace, I guarantee we're focusing on something and thinking about it. That's my experience. I mean, I'd be curious if this resonates with other people, but it's been enormously helpful for me. When I fall out into the now, I'm wide open. I'm not focused and concentrated on anything. I see this, I see the birds, I see the tree, I see you, I see all your faces in front of me. It's in front of me. It's just life is happening as it is. As soon as we're in our conceptual mind, it's not happening as it is. It's distorted through the lens of our ideas. So peace of mind is innate to us. We're born into peace of mind. It's found in the silence underneath the personal thinking we're always doing. I don't care if I have a lot of thoughts in my head. If I'm just wide open, I'm not paying attention to what's going on in my head. I'm just, there's the tree. There's you folks. Here's my voice. There's the glass of water, my clock. It's all just here as it is. Present, perfect. No judgments, no shoulds. The experience of that is peace of mind. When we rest in that place of pure peace, no matter what we're feeling and experiencing or thinking, when we're wide open to life like babies, like newborns, our hearts open up. You can't help but to feel more love and understanding and compassion. You begin to connect. So a deeper realization of the principles wakes you up out of the illusion, out of the suffering of our own personal thinking. We fall into this space that's always here, present, of the wide open now. Consciousness free of the contamination of our conceptual mind, pure consciousness. Our personal thinking, metaphorically, has gone to sleep. Why is that? Because we're not paying attention to it. We're not giving it meaning. We're not listening to it. If I start listening to my thinking right now, I don't see the tree anymore or the birds. I leave the present moment. You know, you can tell when you're talking to somebody whether they're with you or whether you can tell the instant they leave. Right? They've just gone into their personal thinking. They're in their story. They're listening to their own voice. They're not listening to you anymore. They're listening to their own voice. They're not seeing the tree. They're listening to their voice. I love the holiday times because all the lights are a metaphor for pure consciousness. Light has been used as a metaphor for pure consciousness. So we took our grandson to the Portland Zoo and they covered everything with lights. And it's just like everywhere, beautiful colored lights. And then they have zoo animals and lights, and they have ones that move. So you see the monkeys swinging through the trees, and it's unbelievable. You see this big bird flying from one tree, flying across this open field to another tree. And it's like, oh my gosh. And you should see everybody gets enchanted and just starts to experience awe and wonder, which is just an indication we're falling away from our personal thinking, just for a little bit. The beautiful thing to discover is that that's always available to us. It doesn't matter what situation you're in. It doesn't matter what other people are doing. We can wake up from the illusion of thought, fall into this space of presence, aliveness, nowness, wide openness. Experience the peace that comes from that presence or in that presence. And then wisdom responds us, takes care of things, moves us, decides us, helps us deal with whatever is going on. Then you really see the lights and you hear the music. If you listen to music and you're thinking about anything, you don't enjoy the music. If your personal mind falls away, you will enjoy music like crazy. You experience beauty. You experience creativity, beauty, art. Lights, colors become bright and beautiful. Thought away, our birthright, peace of mind, home, what everybody in the world is looking for. Can I do one quick thing before we open it up to questions?
Sure.
Let me hold on just 1 second. I just have an idea. I'm looking something up. Lyrics. Here it comes. Well, I think my favorite Christmas song of all times is Silent Night. And it's filled with metaphors for peace of mind, for presence, for pure consciousness. And I'm going to take away the religious symbolism at this point and just read to you some of the phrases that are there. Silent night, holy night. Another word for that space within us is silence. Why is it silence? Because it's not being influenced by the noise of your personal thinking. And then things start to feel sacred. Only in the now can things feel sacred. Silent night, darkness. The state of no thought is often equated as a dark sky. And then things like stars. All is calm, right? They say in a quiet mind. In a quiet mind, you can experience calm and peace. All is bright. The metaphor for light comes in because when we're in our personal thinking, our feelings contract. When we fall out of our personal thinking, whatever you're feeling begins to expand like light. It opens. All is bright. Holy infant, so tender and mild. Here's the reference to, for us, we'll be using this as a reference for newborn consciousness. Our true state, our innate state. So, holy infant, so tender and mild. Being tender-hearted. Feeling tenderness. Mild just means when you take aggression, when you take judgment out of a person's head, they don't experience aggressiveness. And then our personal mind falls to sleep. So the next line in the song is sleep in heavenly peace. How perfect is this? Whoa, sleep in heavenly. And then later on, it talks about the sight that the shepherds were seeing, glories streaming from heaven. Glories streaming from heaven. If heaven is this natural state of innate peace, heaven on earth, heaven available to all human beings, glories stream from heaven. There's this radiance that happens in our experience. Love's pure light. And then they even say radiant beams with the dawn of redeeming grace. It's where all healing happens. It's where I get over my shit, where I get over my pain, where I get over my suffering, where it's healed by this radiant light. It's healed by this, the very presence. It's where the personal presence and divine presence blend. Sometimes Sid would call that space our soul. You fall into your soul and you find the middle ground between the personal and the divine, between the personal and the universal. Place of redeeming grace. It's where we get renewed in spirit. Renewed, healed, uplifted, inspired. Incited. I'll make up a new word. We get incited. It's a little bit like excited, but it's like it happens in this deep inner level where you get insight. You see life from within. True insight is not words. True insight is an experience of life from within, and within just means before your conceptual mind. Look within. Fall within. Fall wide open to the now. Fall into the wide openness of this very moment. Hold nothing in your thinking or intention. That's pure consciousness. There's no holding. In Buddhism, they say the absence of holding or clinging is nirvana. Heavenly peace. Love's pure light. I just looked those lyrics up this morning before our call. It just popped into my mind. That's another way wisdom works. You fall into this peaceful state, which I was doing is the only preparation I did for this call was to fall into that peaceful state. And then Silent Night kept coming to me and I go, And I remembered the verses and I went, oh, wow. It's just a description of what everybody in the world is looking for. It's when we come home, we fall into that space. Okay, Kim, let's open it up and see what people have to say here.
Thank you. I love being incited. I think that's brilliant. And I'll never hear the words to Silent Night in the same way again. And you've got, I don't know if you can see, Dicken, you've got a really young student here called Anissa, who's she's waving.
Hi. Oh, it's good to see you. Hi. Thanks for the wave.
So, who's got a question for Dicken or something they'd like to explore with Dicken? And if you just quickly type in the chat box, because we've got more than one screen, if you raise your hand, I won't necessarily see you. So who's got a question, just type it in there and then I'll call on you. I think everybody's just blissed out, Dicken.
You know, the word ecstasy is not, there's two ways of thinking of ecstasy or bliss. One is it's a feeling better than a lot of other feelings, so it's on a continuum. The other way of thinking about ecstasy and the way it's used in sacred teaching or sacred literature is standing outside of or beyond yourself. Standing outside of or beyond your personal thinking is a moment of ecstasy. So peace is about ecstasy. Love is about ecstasy, right? Being creative, whether it's doing art or music, is about ecstasy. It's about the universal experience human beings have when they reconnect with their innate nature, their true nature.
Brilliant. Okay, so we have a few people. So gonna start with Chris, actually. Chris Chin. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Kim.
So off you go.
Yeah, my question is this place of personal thoughts, and as soon as you enter it, you lose being home. So my question is, can you be home and teach at the same time? Because, and I'm talking about teaching a topic as opposed to speaking from consciousness.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Because when we're wide open and at peace, wisdom keeps bringing the thinking and feelings that we need for that moment, that are perfect for that moment. But in order to teach, like right now, in a sense, I'm teaching. So in order to teach, I don't have to stop and leave you and think about things first before I say them. Brain surgeons play their favorite music so that they can fall into this state. You do not want a surgeon operating on your brain while he's thinking about things. So if you can do brain surgery in the now, you can certainly teach in the now. Yeah, it's just ordinary, right? You're just in the moment responding. Wisdom is a very responsive intelligence. It will bring you, like right now, it's just bringing me the words to respond to your question. I'm not having to stop and think about it. I could, nothing wrong with that, right? But it's only when we're in the now that we find peace of mind. And so that's sort of the topic for today.
Brilliant, brilliant. Thank you, Chris. Great question. And I'm going to move to Manoj. Manoj.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Manoj.
I think I've got the answer to my question. The question was, I was moved when you said that everybody wants this.
Yeah.
Everybody wants this. And instantly I was moved and I was like, well, I want to tell everyone. But is that small ego thought, or is that wisdom? Because it's a doing. Does that make sense?
Well, wisdom embraces doing too. Wisdom is not opposed to doing. Wisdom, when my mind gets quiet and I fill up with good feeling, that feeling throws me into the world in an engaged way. It doesn't leave me passive or non-responsive. It always leads to loving, caring, compassionate doing. Right?
Okay.
which is cool, it's not like if we fall into a silent mind, we become passive. Wisdom will guide us perfectly in that moment. And it may be to sit quietly and listen to music or watch the lights, or it may be to run and give your kids a kiss, or it may be to run and break up your kids who are fighting, or it may be to call a friend who's in trouble, or you never know where wisdom is going to take you.
Okay.
When we're experiencing peace, wisdom takes us all over the place.
Yeah,
Leads us into... Yeah, go ahead.
Chaotic.
Pardon me?
It can be a bit chaotic, but it feels good in the moment.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people think if you're at peace, you're just sitting quietly. You can be doing anything in a state of mind free of conceptual restraints, anything. Right? People, professional athletes play in the zone. It's not like they're sitting down in the lotus position on the field.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, you're welcome.
Thank you, Manoj. Brilliant. So, Rebecca, you've got an observation.
Good.
Yes. Dicken, thank you. This is, I'm totally blissed out. My observation is around home and the difference that I am experiencing in my life currently in two aspects of my life. I mean, all part of the same, but my mum has dementia. And when I'm caught up in my personal thinking, I have a very different experience than when I'm home and seeing her innate well-being, even in her demented mind.
Yes.
And how I respond to that.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel quite emotional now. I've just spent some time with her and she is off with the fairies today. And I could feel myself getting caught up and judging and all sorts. And thinking of the past and then when I drop out, and literally drop out of it.
Yes.
And I can be with her in that moment and all is well.
Yes.
And then in my relationship that I have with my partner, we've been on off for 5 years, but we've got to a space now where there is no ego and we've connected on a completely different level. And we can have disagreements and that's life, but there is no judgment, there is no ego, there is perfection, it's home. And
yes.
And life, both the dynamic of both of those two happening right now is sublime. Thank you.
You know, Rebecca, it's beautiful what you're saying, and I couldn't agree more. Very often, Sid Banks would talk about there's two worlds. There's times when it's very, very appropriate to think about things and use concepts and ideas, use our intellect, use memory. It's wonderful. When we use our personal mind wisely, it doesn't take a toll on us. And like you said, as soon as you feel that tension, that contraction, it means you're beginning to use your intellect in a way it wasn't intended. And it's time to disengage. And so it's not about, as a human being, never using concepts and ideas. I love to think about things and I love to have ideas and I love to think about old memories and play around with my imagination and stories. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. But at a certain point, I start feeling tension or stress or anxiety or worried, or there's some degree of tension. And that's an indication that it's time to let wisdom weigh in, that the answer doesn't lie in the intellect. And then, as Sid Banks says, you get really good at going back and forth between those two worlds. You know how to use your personal mind more and more wisely, and you know when to disengage from your personal mind and let wisdom take the lead. So it's like a figure background kind of deal. And so as you're talking about your mom or your relationship, I really got this sense of you getting more fluid and going back and forth between those two worlds. Beautiful. It's just beautiful, because you'll find things of great value in both worlds. Both worlds.
Okay.
Well, thank you for that. That's being with a parent or a loved one while they're going through something painful or limiting can be opportunities for all of us to see how our minds work in those moments. Right? Some of my greatest insights have come being with friends and family as they're dying. Literally being with them for days and being with them as they died. And you can experience truly what you were saying. I love what you said about if you're really in the now, there's a sense of as things are, it's perfect. Because it couldn't be different than it is at this moment. Could be different the next moment, but right now as it is, without all the judgments and the shoulds and the concepts, it is perfect. Heavenly, nirvana, perfect. Right? And your wisdom will keep guiding you toward dealing with whatever needs to be dealt with, or taking care of business or whatever. It's beautiful what you're seeing, Rebecca. Beautiful, really. Thank you. That's the whole point, right? That's the whole point, is as you learn how to use your mind more wisely, you do a beautiful dance back and forth in and out of those worlds. You know when to fall awake, fall out of personal thought altogether. As Sid would say, if you want to find love, peace, joy, beauty, truth, you have to be willing to go beyond all concepts. If you're still holding on to some idea, even a really good one, you won't experience that home, that peace, that presence, that perfect contentment. Very nice. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you.
Thanks, Rebecca. And we have Libby. Libby, unmute yourself and go.
Okay, thanks, Kim. Hi, Dicken. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, lovely, lovely discussion. I really hear what you say about the magic of the ordinary, and I've really noticed recently. I walked around the living room the other day and just was blown away with what's actually here now. All of the things that have come from it. I got this immense sense of connection with everybody in the world, because everything here has come from somebody's input in some way, and it's just, I was overwhelmed with this amazing sense of perfection of now, you know, from something very ordinary. And the grace that I'm feeling in that state, what it feels like to me now is that I'm not living my life. It feels like life is living me, and I'm kind of being, you know, nudged this way and that way. So the question I had was around free will, because it kind of feels like to me, I always felt, yep, we've got free will and we can choose and we decide what we do. And now it's like, actually, I'm not so sure, because I know I have a choice in where I put my attention, but it actually feels like, because of the way that life is guiding me towards certain things that feel right, and they just hold, is that, am I just, you know, where's that coming from? Is that free will, or is that predetermined? You know?
This is a great question. It's a great question. At lower levels of consciousness, people feel helpless. They feel like the world is making them feel miserable, so they don't feel like they even have free will. They feel like the world is in charge and it's making me feel horrible or the way I am. And then you begin to see more clearly how your own thinking plays a role, and you begin to intentionally and consciously let go of a lot of thinking you're doing. And you go, wow, I have free will. I can choose not to think about something that if I keep thinking about right now will make me miserable. And then at a higher level, you're just resting in this space. And it feels like you're just being guided to do everything you're doing, and you're not even thinking about it. Right? You become more in tune with or aligned with nature itself. So in the same way, the birds don't have to think in order to move. They're guided continually. I make one little knock on the door and every bird instantly flies away. That happened just a little while ago. And they all just immediately, they know exactly where to go and what to do. And it's the same with the trees and the flowers. And so that's where people start saying, it's not my will, but thy will be done. It doesn't feel like anymore that you're exerting personal will, or that your will is the same as what wisdom. You choose, in a sense, to have what wisdom intends for you, and you make that entirely your own intention. You align yourself with this deeper choosing knowing, but it's not choosing being done by the intellect. It's choosing being done by wisdom, a deeper intelligence than the intellect. So at one point in our lives, we think we have no will, then we think we have will, then we go back to thinking we don't really have a will. It's just living in harmony with life. Does that make sense, Libby?
Yeah, that does. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Brilliant.
Yeah, thank you.
Good to see you, Libby.
See you.
Fantastic. Oh, I can't quite believe it, but we're almost at time, guys. That has been so rich and wonderful. So I've recorded this. I'll put it on the Heart of Thriving Facebook group tomorrow. So people who haven't been able to join us live can watch it. You, of course, can all watch it again if you want to. I certainly will be. And yeah, I just want to say thank you, Dicken. Really beautiful.
Oh, you're welcome, Ken. It's been my pleasure. So sorry I disappeared into the great void for a period of time there into cyberspace.
It was
glad I could find my way back. My wife and I were in the other room fiddling with our modem and trying to get it all to kick into gear again, and it worked out great.
Oh, well, thank you, and give my love to Koisi, and thank you everybody for coming. And if everybody unmutes themselves now, and we'll just all do a quick bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye. Bye, Steph. Bye, Marina.
Bye.
Bye.